What is up, everybody? So I'm continuing to go over newspaper articles that were being printed at the time everything was going on in Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey's case, from the very beginning, from right up until today. And we're going to continue on November 15th, 2005 with this article from the Janesville Gazette. Now, these articles are extremely interesting. I wasn't aware that the frame-up theory on behalf of Stephen Avery was being printed in papers all the way back then. I thought that I knew his lawyers and stuff were talking about it in the courtroom, but I didn't realize that the press was also talking about it so early on. So this article from the Janesville Gazette is talking about how murder charges are expected to be filed today against Stephen Avery. Today, again, November 15th, 2005. This is sort of like a live timeline of events, but a live timeline of events of something that happened 18 years ago. This states the identification of remains still out, the sheriff says. So at this point in time, they haven't even ID'd the body, but they are still going to arrest and charge Stephen Avery with the murder. The murder of somebody they don't even know who it is at this point. It seems awfully strange, but let's see what this article says. Charred bone fragments, blood, and DNA are all key parts of the murder case being built against a man who served 18 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. Murder charges against Stephen Avery were expected to be filed today in Manitowoc County Court. Special Prosecutor Ken Kratz announced Friday that Avery would be charged with the killing of Teresa Halbach, although her remains have not yet been identified. The teeth and bits of bone are believed to be all that's left of the 25-year-old photographer who vanished on Halloween afternoon after going to the Avery family's salvage yard to photograph a van. It doesn't actually say that, but that's what she went there to do. There wasn't a lot left, I'll be honest with you, just bone fragments, Pagel said in a telephone interview on Monday. That's an indication of a very intense fire. The sheriff was still waiting for the state crime lab to positively identify the remains. He said investigators were also waiting for the crime lab to finish analyzing DNA that had been recovered but was not Teresa Halbach's or Stephen Avery's. Interesting. They were waiting for the crime lab to finish analyzing DNA that had been recovered but was not Teresa Halbach's or Stephen Avery's. Interesting. Pagel said they were trying to determine if anyone else in the Avery family was involved in the murder. Now, we can rule out Brendan Dassey at this point. I know people are going to be like, well, it's Brendan Dassey's. But remember, there was no DNA evidence of Brendan Dassey ever recovered at any of the so-called crime scenes. There was no, I'll say it again, no DNA of Brendan Dassey's recovered. And this is the exact reason why we're going over articles from then. Crazy. Stephen Avery, who's 43 at the time, who denies any knowledge of Teresa Halbach's disappearance, was taken into custody last week and charged with a weapons violation. He has told reporters repeatedly that he is being set up because of his pending $36 million lawsuit against Manitowoc County for his wrongful conviction. See, it's all over the place back then. Investigators searching for Teresa Halbach found the human teeth and bones in the burn pit behind Stephen Avery's garage. Her key with Avery's DNA on it was also found hidden in Avery's bedroom. Jerry Pagel said Avery's DNA and Halbach's blood were inside her sport utility vehicle, which her family and friends found in the 40-acre junkyard 5 days after she was last seen. Investigators searched 3,800 vehicles several times, 6 ponds, and the 700-acre area 3 times, while also following up information from their tip line. According to 2 search warrants released on Monday, investigators seized Avery's computer, looking at the hard drive for image of sexually explicit material. Now remember, they didn't find any, including pornographic images, bondage, torture, and death, but they did find some, all kinds, on Bobby Dassey's computer. That could point to a possible motive. So here they're stating that that stuff could point to a possible motive. But when they brought it up in Bobby Dassey's situation, they just completely blew it off. Found steel belts of about 6 tires that were used as fire accelerants, found a number of 5-gallon buckets that appeared to have been used to distribute burned remains, and the burned bones resembled twigs, and without the state fire marshal, investigators might not have determined they were bones. This one is from the Madison Capital Times on November 16th, 2005. Stephen Avery is charged in Teresa Halbach's killing. A man who served 18 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit was charged Tuesday with the killing and mutilation of a freelance photographer who had an appointment with him the last day she was seen. Investigators searching for Teresa Halbach found human teeth and bones in a burn pit behind Stephen Avery's garage. Authorities said preliminary results Tuesday identified the remains as Teresa Halbach, according to a criminal complaint charging Avery with first-degree intentional homicide and mutilation of a corpse. That charge was later dropped, the mutilation of the corpse. But Colima County Sheriff Jerry Pagel said in a phone interview Tuesday night that all indications are the remains are Teresa Halbach's, but the FBI will do further analysis to make sure a positive identification. Avery appeared in the Manitowoc County Circuit Court on Tuesday when Judge Patrick Willis set bail at $500,000 cash and scheduled a preliminary hearing for December 6th on the homicide and mutilation charges. The homicide charge carries a mandatory life in prison sentence, while the mutilation charge carries up to 12.5 years in prison and $25,000 in fines. Where do they come up with these amounts? Wisconsin does not have the death penalty. Avery has reportedly told reporters he believes he's being set up because of the pending $36 million lawsuit. According to the complaint, Leslie Eisenberg, a forensic anthropologist, described the bone fragments as a result of mutilation of a corpse. Almost every bone in the body was recovered from the scene. Pagel said no whole bones were recovered. The anthropologist is trying to determine if the body was dismembered. Tree branches and vehicle parts were found around Teresa Halbach's SUV as if someone was trying to hide it. A dried red substance believed to be blood was on Avery's bathroom floor in the front of a washer and dryer. We know that that was not Teresa Halbach's. Handcuffs and leg irons were found in his trailer. A .22 caliber rifle and a .50 caliber black powder muzzle loader were found in Avery's bedroom. Halbach's license plates were found crumpled up in a scrap vehicle at the salvage yard. Burned clothing and a partially burned shovel were found in a burn barrel near Avery's trailer. Steel tire belts had been used as fire accelerant. This is from the Janesville Gazette, November 17th, 2005. Stephen Avery has been isolated from other prisoners. The man charged this week with the killing and mutilation of the corpse of a freelance photographer who had an appointment with him on the last day she was seen is being isolated from other prisoners at the Calumet County Jail. Sheriff Jerry Pagel said Wednesday that Stephen Avery has his own cell for his protection and the protection of others. Avery has not made threats against anyone or said he would harm himself, but the move was taken as a precaution. The man who served 18 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit was released in 2003, was charged Tuesday with first-degree intentional homicide and mutilating a corpse after investigators said they found human bones and teeth at the Avery salvage yard 3 miles west of Mashot. Those are the newest articles with the newest information. I'm not going over every single newspaper article. I read them all and then I take out the ones that have the new information. So I'm not just repeating everything over and over again, because there was a number, or maybe still is a number, of publications in the area, but they were all just repeating the same stories over and over again in each publication. So we're just going over the new information. Well, let me know what you think. What do you think of the articles we went over today? What do you think of what's going on in the case today? What do you think of Kathleen Zellner's newest filing on behalf of Stephen Avery in an attempt to get him an evidentiary hearing? Let me know. Leave some comments below. I hope you're having a good day, and I'll see you again soon.